What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Parking Brown Show. I'm your host, Jacob, Mr. Casey Kinnaman, and Nick Carnsample. I pointed at the wrong directions there. We're brought to you, as always, by our friends at SeatGeek. Hey, if you want to get some tickets, go watch those Red Hot Cavs, the best team in the NBA. That's what I would say. I think people are saying that.
It might be saying that.
Yeah, they'd be saying that. If you want to check those out, go over SeatGeek, get some tickets. Use our promo code Barking Browns, all one word, get $20 off your first purchase. Checking us out on YouTube, please make sure you hit subscribe and give us a thumbs up. We are live on Twitter and Twitch every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Uploaded pretty much right after on YouTube. Gentlemen, how are we?
Good, man. Shane Gillis will be coming to Cleveland soon. Tickets are on sale now if you want to use the code for that.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, he is coming soon.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's been a couple weeks, and there's been a ton that happens because it seems like the Browns are just the saga story that never ends. So at least it's not boring, right? I've got some Baja Blast here.
Nick, you gotta take the dog chug logo off.
Oh, well, I should probably do that at some point. I'm still working on this whole running this.
I just saw it though. Like it took me that whole time to see.
Yeah, that could be like if we did a mashup, but that's not what tonight's episode is about. Tonight's episode is about hopefully being miles away from trading Garrett, as someone so smartly named the show this week.
Yeah, so that's probably where we start, right? Like we start the conversation there because I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have been, but when that news broke last week that Myles Garrett was requesting a trade, I was pretty shocked. I was pretty shocked by it. I was shocked by the timing of it, like especially because Casey, we've talked about this, and Jack Duffin's covered it at the OBR and some things like that, where it's like you can't do shit till March 14th. So like it was really just, I get it. It was like he had that opportunity to make that public and then go on all those shows on Super Bowl Row, which was a decision. We'll get into it. So I guess that's part of why the timing of it was what it was, I would assume. But yeah, man, like I'm feeling like it's that time of year where it's like when you're really busy at work, you aren't concerned you're missing any news. You're just like, I was helping replace a motor on some bleachers, and like we were having some issues with that, and we're like, tinkering or whatever. And then like I opened my phone for a second because people are like DMing me and texting me and asking me questions. And I'm like, what's going on? And it comes out of nowhere. So Casey, I know you look very opinionated based on your face going on right now. So I'll pass it to you, just some initial thoughts about all that, and we'll dive into the specifics here in a moment.
It's fucking stupid. I mean, look, man, deadline spur action. There's no deadline. No action is going to happen. So now it all is this talking point that won't go away. So like I'm pissed that it went public for no reason other than to drag us through the mud and to like this hurts us in like free agency. This does other things to us. You know what I mean? If it looks like he's trying to get out, that's going to be a less attractive destination for other people who may have been viewing it as a spot to go. If you're a defensive player and you're like, oh, I'd like to play next to Myles Garrett. Like, it's a bummer, man. And I get his sentiment. Like, you look around, he's at the Pro Bowl. He's seeing other teams have more success. He's seeing teams look like they're on an upward trajectory, and he wants to be a part of that. I get it. I get that part. And I mean, he should probably think about a few things. One, the Browns took him over quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes. And he wants to go one of these successful teams, these front-running teams. How do you get there? How do you get from A to B? Because all those teams have draft picks 26 and up. That's a non-starter. If you're telling me you're going to trade me your number one draft pick, but it's number 24, 28, I don't give a shit. That doesn't get Myles Garrett.
No.
You know what I mean? So I get that he wants to be on a contender. Raise the tide. Go start recruiting people. You know what I mean? Instead of instead of looking for the easy way out. I think it's sadly, I mean, it's a punk move really to do what he's doing publicly. I think that there's fear. I think he feels fear. I think he feels that he's close to the pinnacle of his powers, being in his prime, and he's worried about being on the backside of it and not being important or viewed as important across the league as he is right now. He's trying to strike while he can because it's Khalil Mack, right? You're the man to this position. You're the man at that position. And then time moves on and you're not the man anymore. And Micah Parsons or someone else takes your place. And he wants to do this while he's still that dude.
Can I tell you some breaking news? You want some breaking news first, or do you want me to just keep?
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you want to? So a video posted by Well Off Media, Shedeur Sanders says his first top 30 visit is Cleveland. So, there you go. I watched a bunch of Travis Hunter tape over the weekend, working up my profile, and it just made me hate him even more. So,
I get where you're coming from. We can dive way deep into that conversation because I have a lot of thoughts on that. But I do just want to say
continue with the Myles stuff, but we'll talk about the Shedeur stuff in a little bit.
Yeah. I just want to say about Myles, I think the hardest part about this entire situation is in Myles' comments, he very pointedly kind of poked fun at the Cleveland Canton comment from Andrew Berry. And anybody that follows his team or listens to what Berry says, like, knew that. And, you know, it was hard enough to swallow the pill of, like, basically, okay, we're going to fire Ken Dorsey and we're just going to run this thing back without Deshaun Watson. And we're just going to that's where we're going to place all the blame. There's nothing to see here, even though we just won 3 games. And it's like we're bringing the whole regime back, which, I mean, I've seen Browns coaches get fired for a lot less than 3-win seasons. And so that's frustrating enough. But it's like, you know, the regime is putting a plan out there that says, this is what we're doing, running it back. We believe in our process. We believe in our coaching staff, you know, obviously, because they're retaining these guys. We're believing it, that whole thing. They're sending you a message of belief. And then directly after that, your best player is saying, no, I don't believe in any of this, in any of what you're doing. And I don't believe in your process. And I don't believe in running this back because we're not close and we're not going to be winners. And it's like, then the regime and your best player are at odds, and they're saying the exact same thing. And it's like most fans know, like, you guys just won 3 games. Like there's probably a lot more reason for alarm bells than this regime is acting like, right? Oh. And Myles is then telling you that when they were trying to, like, push that whole rhetoric away, right? And so it just makes everybody look like they're not on the same page, and it's so frustrating because I thought we were beyond this. And that's why I got so mad. That's why I got so mad.
Okay, but just a matter of a couple of weeks prior to that, he literally said, we're not that far away. That was Myles Garrett's words on Hard Knocks. So don't act like it's all complete disconnect there, man. Like I can't go there because he said it him fucking self. He said it. He said it. We're not that close. They asked him about, like, have you talked to the Browns about their regime? And he was smiling. He didn't have to do any of that. He didn't have to do any of that if inside of him he was like, fuck these guys, burn it to the ground. David Njoku said, we just need a good, healthy quarterback. So that was something. Denzel Ward talked about how close the team is. Multiple people said that. So I can't get by. I get it. The initial reaction to him wanting out, it's like you gotta deal with it on some level, but I can't do that where it's like, oh, Myles Garrett, you perfect little angel. Like, I'm so sorry that 2 weeks ago you were okay, and then today you're just like, nah. We suck. Like,
Myles shares some blame too, and I get that. Clearly, something went wrong with that conversation, right? clearly,
But he'd already
whatever
had
he
the
heard, he didn't
conversation.
like.
He had already had the conversation and said it went well.
A separate conversation happened between him and his agents is what's happened here.
Oh, okay. A separate conversation. Okay, so
Well,
what?
you understand who he's with now, right, Nick?
Yeah,
He's
Yeah.
with LeBron's people.
I know. Clutch Sports and all that stuff.
It's just so
It's just frustrating because there's nothing that can happen. There's nothing they could have done between now and then that would have changed his mind.
yeah, because they can't do
the conversation and now because you can't do anything until March 12th at 4:00. There's literally nothing you can do.
You guys remember this? We had these conversations in like May and June of last year when people were like, the Browns are not serious about winning. And it's like, because people were mad about a bunch of stuff. And you're like, they can't do anything right now. There's no games going on. There's nothing they can do. So like, that's my point is like, nothing could happen in that time period because you can't tell me that first conversation, whenever it was, the one that made him say, I don't think we're that far off, we're that and this. And also, I realize that my internet is a little choppy, so I apologize if it's going in and out here in this particular hotel. I can see you guys kind of like lagging around, so I don't know if my audio is all messed up or whatever.
Audio's good.
But he has that conversation, and you can't say in that short period of time that their plan drastically changed. Like, for example, say they love Shedeur and Cam. Let's say that 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks or whenever that conversation was, they were like, yeah, we're going to get a quarterback at 2 because we like both of these guys. We think both of these guys are franchise quarterbacks. And so this is our plan. We're going to, build the offensive line in free agency or whatever it is, like, oh, we're going to do all of this. And then we're going to get a Shedeur Sanders or we're going to get Cam Ward and we're going to win games. Like, that is what we're going to do. Because you can't tell me 2 weeks later they were like, actually, those guys are both trash, so we're not going to have a quarterback. Because, like, do you get what I'm saying in that sense? It's like that aspect, because we all know that's got to be what it's about. That's the position it's about. We all know that. Because
defensively, he can't be put in a better situation. His actual playing position, what he does, he could not ask for a better situation to be in the system he's in with Jim Schwartz. It just doesn't happen.
And the potential of, like, if they change their decision at 2, he would be playing with probably like Abdul Carter potentially. Like, if they were like, yeah, we're going to go with Kirk and Zach Wilson. Oh, that hurt me. But anyway, just like if that was what they said to him, like, but I don't mean to. If I came off attacking you, Nick, I didn't mean to. This is. I just think this is an unnecessary drama because he keeps going out there and saying this and saying that, and it's just like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm getting close to the point. It's like they asked him, like, what was it? What are you willing to do with the contract to make it work? And his response was, I'll do whatever it takes. There's literally nothing to do. There's literally nothing they can do except and he will like it. Damn it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. All he's doing is making it awkward for when he has to show up in September.
Yeah.
They can trade him on June 2nd.
There's zero incentive to trade this dude.
We got some interesting comments here. Well, okay. I just want to respond to your point, Jacob. I understand your frustration, right? Because I agree. Myles is doing everything he can to make this as ugly, messy, gross as possible, right? It's not perfect little angel Myles Garrett, right? And the Browns are still the same team that after he swung his helmet around, they gave him his giant contract raise and just let him be suspended for the rest of the season and still paid him, like the star he was, right? They could have made that uglier than it was. There's some stuff here, like Myles. I don't know. I'm not trying to go down that road too much, but my point is that the organization may not be doing its part to win games. But even, okay, I get the Deshaun Watson trade completely blew up in their face, but the whole goal was to take a giant swing at quarterback and get somebody that was going to help them win. and they were wrong. But
Yep.
half the league was wrong in pursuing him, right?
Yep.
Like it's not like they were the only team that thought Deshaun would be good, and they thought it changed the trajectory of the franchise. And sometimes it's not going to work. And I get his frustration, but to do this, and because I'm not saying the Browns, I'm not saying that Andrew Berry is. I've said some some things out of anger, but I'm not trying to act like he has no idea what he's doing. I'm just saying it makes it look like. And to Casey's point initially, when you're talking about free agents and that kind of thing, it makes it look like the regime is not aligned or maybe doesn't know what they're doing. I'm not saying that's the truth, but I'm saying that's what it makes it look like.
Okay. And you know what's really, yeah, I get that. I get that. And you know what's, shit, I lost it. Whatever it was.
Well, let me get the temperature of the room here. Who would you guys say is the hottest, the best GM in football right now?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're going to say because I listened to the same podcast. It's Howie Roseman.
It's got to be Howie.
His process is pretty damn similar to Andrew Berry's, right?
That's exactly
what the Eagles sat through. They didn't win a playoff game for the first 7 years of Howie's tenure.
I thought they won 2.
No, 0. They went to the playoffs. But they did not win a playoff in his first 7.
Oh, it was playoff appearances. They made 2 playoff appearances, but they didn't win a game. Yes,
they didn't win any.
Right.
But they stuck with it. Now look what's happening.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it's this quick trigger thing. And this does it exactly what Nick says. This pits the public perception, and the public perception of the Browns is fucking bad enough. And we have like the guy who we made the highest paid defensive player in football, who we made the #1 overall pick, is turning the gun on us now. Like that's what that looks like publicly, and it was already bad enough. You know what I mean? So public beatings never go out of style. And the only thing that digs you out of this is winning. But their jobs are on the line. You don't think they're going to do everything they can to win?
That's what I was. That is actually the thing I lost. That's what it was. There's no way they're going out there trying to sell a rebuild because they can't survive it. They can't survive it.
Nope.
Rather, whoever's listening to this show thinks that's what they are in and what they should do. They're not in that. This regime's not in that. The management might be, the ownership might be thinking about that for after 25, but this regime's not surviving that. I don't think if this regime doesn't win 8, 9+ games, they're not coming back, and they shouldn't, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, sorry, I didn't mean to take your point, Casey, but that's literally what I was going to say. I'm so glad you brought it up because I was not going to remember it.
You're going into year 6, and you've got this trade that you're trying to distance yourself from, and the only way to do it is to win. Because if you don't, that's all they're going to talk about. That sunk your ship, and you haven't climbed out of it, right? So the mission goal has to be climbing out of it this year, and I think that's a pretty nice segue, because that is why, even though I know you dislike Shedeur so much, I'm still advocating for taking a swing on one of these quarterbacks, because I just think that there are so many questions about you said Kirk Cousins and Zach Wilson, and that, like, maybe Kirk can reclaim it. I don't know. But I just think the highest upside is hitting on one of these quarterbacks, is one of these quarterbacks just exceeding that expectation and taking them and at least trying. That's where I'm at with it. I'm really curious to know where you guys are at in this whole conversation about quarterbacks and drafting in general.
Well, I'm not going to get into the specifics of the guy. I'm going to let Jacob get into that when he talks about what he's seen out of Shedeur this week in his Travis Hunter study.
No, I'm with you, OG. I'm with you. I'm just saying that it might be in the back of Haslam's mind that they're going to have to. That's all I was saying.
But I'm just going to speak on the process. This whole take a quarterback just to take a quarterback is bullshit. You trust your evaluations. If your evaluation says one of these guys is the dude, pull the fucking trigger, yes.
Yep.
But you can't take the guy at 2 if you don't believe he's the guy. So what's their evaluation? It isn't just about taking the quarterback to take the quarterback. Like, I'm looking at national guys, big boards. I'm talking guys I respect in the industry. And the highest I've seen Shedeur ranked as 15th on a big board.
Mm-hmm.
What does that tell you? You know what I mean? Like, he's not even considered a top 10 guy in this draft, top 5. And so it's about there, but it's not about the pundits. It's about those guys in Berea doing the work, and mainly Stefanski in my mind. Do you see one of these dudes as your trigger man, as your avatar to be on the field and execute? Because if you do, you pull the trigger, even if it isn't to play this year right away, even if it's to stash and develop so you have him back half of the year, even beginning of next year, and maybe you go get a Kirk Cousins or whatever, just the direction. But I just want to speak on the process of, yes, you have to hit on a quarterback, but that doesn't mean one of these guys are your guy. It's all about your evaluation and trust, standing on your evals. Do you see one in this draft? If you do, you take it and you make no apologies, But if not, man, you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip, man. It's either you believe one of these guys has the stuff or they don't. So I'll let Jacob kind of get into what he thinks of Shedeur himself.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like, I was talking to somebody today that was talking to me about the tea leaves of the connections between Shedeur and the Browns and some of the buzz, and now you're getting the confirmation of that video that's surfacing now of him saying my first visits with the Browns, which I think they'd be stupid not to bring him in for a top 30 visit.
Dude, you have to exhaust every possibility that he is or isn't the guy.
Yeah, you can't pull a Mike Pettin, Justin Gilbert situation where they never even met with the dude.
Yeah, don't do that, please.
Which is different because it's a quarterback versus corner. I know that's different, but you get my point.
One of the most bizarre stories to ever come out of Berea.
That's a mouthful right there.
I bring it up all the time because it's still so wild to me that is what took place. It's like, okay, whatever. But anyway, so I'm with you in that sense that it's like the tea leaves are pointing, and then Zagura made some comments, and now he just made another comment on Twitter about it, and all he basically is pumping out is like, you've got to have a quarterback. And it's, again, we know that 100%. Like that. Yeah, that's not news. That's not anything. You've got to have a quarterback, and you've got to have one that can play in a system. You get what I'm saying. Like, that can at least play in the system and manage some things and do some stuff. And it's looking a lot too like premium capital needs to be stuck on defensive players. Because if you get the quarterback right and you get a good defense and spend capital on defense, like I've been listening to some podcasts talking about that, and so I'm like, that's very intriguing by looking at some of that data. But when I look at Shedeur, I don't see an elevator. If you guys are familiar, I'm sure you are a little bit, Casey. I don't know if you've ever checked this out, Nick, but if you're familiar with the Locked On NFL Draft. Locked On NFL Draft podcast with Damian Parson from Bleacher Report and Keith Sanchez from the Draft Network. They have 3 categories for quarterbacks. Are you a truck? Are you a trailer? Or are you a hitch? So are you a truck who drives the train, pulls the team along, franchise quarterback who elevates everyone? Are you a trailer where they're just kind of winning with you and you're being dragged along? Or are you a hitch where you're not quite the truck, but you're holding everything together because you're somewhere there in the middle? You're somewhere there where it's like, you might not, every once in a while you'll elevate and they'll win a game because of you, but you're never going to lose them the game. You're not going to be the main reason they lose. But you're going to be somewhere in that middle, kind of somewhere where Baker Mayfield has kind of been for a lot of his career.
Yep.
That's kind of a hitch. I don't see Shedeur as a trailer, as a truck. I don't see him as a franchise elevator. I don't see physical traits or talent that'll ever put him. Yeah, OG, it's a phenomenal. I love it when talking about quarterback play. I love the analogy. It's really great. It's so good. They use it all the time. I love it. I don't see a truck because I don't see any elite physical characteristics. Mm-hmm. He does have an elite processor at times. Like, if you keep Shedeur clean, he can pick you apart. Like, yeah, he's got. I always say this. He has an average arm. I wouldn't call it weak. I'd call it an NFL arm. It's not a noodle arm, but it's not a bazooka. It's not Cam Ward's arm. It's not Jalen Milroe's arm. It's not like, it's just a middle of the road NFL. I can throw outside the numbers. I can throw the deep ball, but sometimes the wide receiver is going to need to help me go up and make a play because I'm going to underthrow some of these deep balls because I got limitations there. I think he's a hitch when I watch his game, but I think that's where he gets, but he gets so frustrating because he just won't pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of that. And don't get me wrong, I was very frustrated watching Travis Hunter's tape. I was frustrated with some of the things Shedeur was doing. I was even more frustrated with what that offensive line was not doing.
Yeah.
Because, like, to Shedeur's credit, he did do a lot with what he was given, so to speak, in terms of the protection was just not very good. But sometimes he would have Travis Hunter deep, and I don't know if it's he just didn't trust his arm to get it to him. If he would hold on to the ball to try to look for something else. He would try to create. Sometimes he would already be on his back and he couldn't really do anything about that, and things like that. But I found it really frustrating because of the hesitance that I would see. When he's confident, when Shedeur is confident, I think he's the most accurate passer in this class. Let me be very clear about that. There is some pinpoint accuracy. Now, you're talking about ball placement. He can throw it into some tight windows, but because he doesn't have elite velocity, you have some concerns about some of that stuff. But in terms of ball placement, like I say this about Will Howard. So, like, Howard, like, there was a lot of throws Will Howard did at Ohio State where it was put in a spot where either his guy could make it the catch or no one else could, but his guy would have to make a ridiculous catch. That's not Shedeur. He throws a better ball than that. He throws a more accurate ball than that. Let me be clear about that. But he sometimes does that where he'll put it in a place because he knows Travis Hunter can go get that football. He's like, yeah, you got no problem. I just throw it, that sort of thing. He frustrates me because some of his biggest strengths, like his IQ, his processor, his vision, are inconsistent. I watch snaps and drives where I'm like, that dude is picking them apart. And then I watch drives where he's like, I don't know. I'm going this way. It's like, that's the wrong way. That's the wrong way. You need to go this way. Throw it, go down, do something. Stop going that way. Things like that. So he just really frustrates me. He frustrates me because I know that I've seen him be that dude, but I don't see it enough. And then in those big games, go watch that BYU game, man. Go watch how that season ended. That was bad. That was rough. That bowl game, that was rough. And just because of it, like, I don't want to take him at 2. But if Kevin theoretically looks me in the eyes like, we're going to win a Super Bowl with Shedeur, I'll throw a little bit of a fit, and then I'll accept it.
Here's where I'm at overall, because Casey, you spoke about process, and Jacob, you spoke about how you feel about Shedeur as a prospect. And I love your metaphor. I love their metaphor. And so I guess this is where the conversation comes together to me, and why I think they should take a quarterback at 2 regardless. Because even if Shedeur is the only hit, or even if Shedeur is a hitch, he, out of the sea of quarterback options that there are, because you said earlier, we all agreed here that they can't survive a rebuild. So we're operating in a 1-year window. And Andrew Berry says to himself, I need to get a quarterback who is at least a hitch. And I look at these names and I say, Danny Dimes, Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, whatever. Like, I think
no. Don't you put that juju out there, Nick.
I know. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I know.
In a 1-year window, when you say, I need to win as many games as possible to keep my job, the best you can do might just be hitch. And there might only be 1 or 2 hitches available to you out of the entire pool. And that might be 0 in free agency. I'm not positive. I mean, there's a lot that can happen. Maybe like a guy like Geno Smith comes available, or maybe something crazy like Matt Stafford really does get traded. And I'm just saying, I'm throwing stuff out there. I know the money is a whole different conversation. But my point is, in a 1 year, like, yeah, if you're a new regime, you can get a trailer and then you can go get your truck next year. But you don't have that time here, so the hitch might just be the best option, even though Shedeur is probably not the same prospect here as like Abdul Carter. Like that's basically my entire point here is they have to get the best option no matter what it is this year, and it doesn't really matter if they're interested in staying employed if the best option comes at the cost of a far better prospect.
I still can't wrap my head around Stefanski knowingly just selecting a rookie to put his eggs in that basket to be your starter for the season. So even if they do draft Shedeur, okay, if he is a hitch, because when Jacob's talking, I'm thinking, okay, I've seen players come into the league as hitches and become trucks. I've seen that. I've seen Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson had a great running game and a phenomenal defense, and he made just enough plays to keep them in games. And they were interesting his rookie year, and then they went and won the whole thing his second year. So that exists. But in this 1 year window, I still think if they do draft Shedeur, they're still getting a veteran to start. I don't think Shedeur just gets drafted and here's the keys. I think that if he earns the keys, it's different. But I don't think that's the plan. Won't be okay. Let's draft this guy. Whatever happens with him happens, and all of our eggs are in that basket. So I still think we're looking at a multifaceted approach. Whether it is draft Shedeur, get Kirk Cousins. I'm hoping Aaron Rodgers isn't on the table. I'll say this: if Aaron Rodgers would shut the hell up and not do media, I'd take Aaron Rodgers. I think skill wise, I can deal with that. I can't deal with this. We're just now getting the circus out of town. So it's hard for me to invite
not even out yet.
Which is another aspect of Shedeur that it's a real thing. Like he might be a model citizen, but if the 2 or 3 games go by and he's not starting, you don't think his dad's going to be on Colin Cowherd? You don't think his dad's going to be on Good Morning Football? You know what I mean? Like, it becomes a circus. So you actually have to weigh that into this. How much weight they give it, I have no idea. But I know as fans, that's the last thing we need right now. Is more circus.
You know what I think will be interesting about that aspect of it, trying to figure that out. And Josh, I'm sorry, but your comments are coming in really weird, saying like they're coming at 10 p.m. So I didn't even realize you were putting comments in there because they're going to the top of the chat instead of the bottom. So I'm just now noticing.
He's been shadow banned.
He's been shadow banned or something. That's why I apologize, man. I'm just now seeing all of them. I'm like, oh my God, Josh is talking. It's just not showing up.
He wanted to trade Myles.
He's wanted to trade Myles.
Shocker there.
He's wanted to trade Myles for 3 years. We just have to fight him about it every day. They could have, yeah. You think he essentially gave them 2 years or should have fired them I can see that. I can see that aspect of it. Especially if like Haslam seems like he's been a bit more tame, and it kind of like
the Ginger Ninja, awesome.
I guess Andy Dalton would have been. That is the definition of a hitch. Yeah, what Andy Dalton was in Cincinnati.
Respect the Red Rocket.
Hey man, they went to a lot of playoff games.
They sure did. Him and AJ Green were all kinds of fun.
How many they win?
Yeah, but let me ask you something. What they did, okay, but what they did was won a lot of games until they got their truck. Right?
Yep. They had one bad year. They bottomed out for 1 year in the right year, and they got their truck.
And they're like, yeah, I'm not doing a hitch anymore. Like, because it's like you bring Andy Dalton in as a hitch and you hope he becomes a truck. Well, he doesn't. Then he bottomed out and he kind of started being a bit of a trailer. And then you're like, oh God, here's Joe Burrow. Like, thank God. So like, I'm willing to do that aspect of it. Like, I don't want to wait 6 years for a playoff team, but you get what I'm saying. Like, but this is the argument I make in this situation. I can think of 3, maybe 4. And if you're getting a little bit spicy, I can think of 5 hitches in this draft not named Shedeur Sanders.
Mm-hmm. That's also a path they can go down. That's also a path they can go down. I just want
to getting a blue chipper at 2 or trading back and getting somebody and extra assets. And that's
just point. Andy Dalton was a second rounder. He wasn't a top of the draft guy.
I just want to say to your point about the Bengals going to the playoffs and not winning games. I think there's something that I cannot get my head to just cooperate. Okay. There's something that there's some value to, until recently, the whole conversation was Deion's not going to let his kid even go to Cleveland because they have such terrible culture and they have such a dysfunctional this and whatever. And it's just like, I do think there's value if you can, I know it may not be the sexiest option. And you're right. Maybe the ceiling isn't the Super Bowl, but you've got to get momentum moving forward. Like you pointed out, Casey, you said, it took Howie Roseman a long time in Philadelphia to get this stuff going, really going, right? Well, the key to getting there could be just drafting a hitch at this point. And just, if you really believe he is a hitch, then, and just allowing yourself that time to recover from all the assets you lost from Deshaun Watson and to get these full slates of picks and to show your drafting prowess and to really start to build the roster with these picks that you didn't have before.
And not if your name's Sam Penix, you'll trade him though. I hope he sees this. We've been ragging on Sam for a couple of days. Every mock draft show we do on the OBR YouTube on Monday nights, he trades all of the 6th rounders so that he doesn't. His last pick on our mock last night was at 126.
Oh wow!
And then I had to make 6 picks in a row to end it because he'll trade the 5th. He'll trade up from the 5th into the 4th and send all of the 6th and 7th away to do it.
Hey, if you can make 5ths and later in another Jerry Jeudy, you can sign me up for that type of deal.
I think you're going to see some of those moves because one thing that I think is very interesting about Andrew Berry when you look at the wide receiver trades, Amari was I guess an older prospect, but Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore were not old receivers. They were both on their rookie deal. You know what I mean? He took that back to back. I'm correct in that. Jerry Jeudy too. Yes.
Yeah, he was.
So you traded, 5ths, day 3 assets for rookie deal players that maybe just weren't working out there.
Amari was only 27 when they traded for him.
What is it?
Amari was only 27 when they traded for him.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I didn't want to say he was old, but he was older than those two. It was kind of what I was getting at. Was that one's, but it does kind of.
But he was also proven, whereas the other ones, were failure to launches in their one stop. Amari been a few places
and had some success.
Jeudy truly is the conversation for. I'm Andrew Berry and I'm smarter than you, just like Howie Roseman and a lot of the trades that he's been able to pull off over the course of time.
Howie Roseman too. What I love about what Howie has done, and I know I'm stealing this from Locked On NFL Scouting because they brought it up. It's he doesn't get afraid. You draft Jalen Reagor and it just bottoms out, and then they're that's fine. I'm still going to draft Devontae Smith. He's the next year he's I'm going to trust my process. I got it wrong about the wide receiver last year, and I traded Reagor, or I drafted Reagor over Justin Jefferson, and I'm sure he still loses sleep. Not right now. Not right now. He's got a Super Bowl. He's
also the master of not overthinking. We're everyone found a reason not to drop Cooper DeJean. Everyone let that dude is clearly a first round talent, and everyone I know he's a white cornerback. That doesn't happen, but everyone found a reason not to draft him.
Howie truly just is who's the best player here? He's did we just draft Quinyon Mitchell in the first round and the best player is a corner? Well, we have a first round grade on this corner, so I'll take another corner. Yeah, pick 6 in the Super Bowl.
If you look at Andrew Berry, if you look at Andrew Berry trades outside of Deshaun Watson, you you were able to take advantage of the salary cap situation Dallas was in and rob Amari out of Dallas. He becomes the first Browns wide receiver to have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. You get a third-round pick out of him, and he does relatively nothing for Buffalo, which is a huge misuse because they only got a second for Stephon Diggs. So, and you look at how they acquired Judy, and I get Moore hasn't been like stellar, but anytime the pass game was functional, he still was productive. He was productive with Flacco. He was productive with
Good role player.
Yeah, he's a role player, and so I mean, you swap down around. I don't know if that value really comes out to it, but he's not bad. He's not useless. But my point is, Andrew Berry's made a lot of those trades. Similar to how the Eagles have done a bunch of that stuff. Like I know maybe not on the same level as like the AJ Brown trade, but I do think he's made a lot of good trades, except for one terrible one. Right. Mm-hmm. So part of me like really wants to see like, hey, you're starting to have draft picks again, and you're starting to have assets and ammo to like take advantage of situations like this again. Like, I would like to see him get the opportunity to display more of that prowess, because I would say, aside from the Watson trade, it's probably some of the better trades the Browns have made in the recent decades.
When you're looking at it now and you're like, my God, he's got the ammo for it.
Yeah, right.
Are you really drafting 12 rookies? Let's be honest. Like, don't get me wrong. They should draft like 7 or 8 at least, because they need a little bit more youth in the depth and trying to, get some people to develop and replace some of the older players that they've got.
They need cheap depth.
Yeah. And, a great point by Josh, though. The best option for the quarterback, we preach the best option for the quarterback option, but you got to, yeah. Here's the thing. When you look at like what the Eagles have done, they've done that. Who was that? Parcells did it, but who was it first? The draft a quarterback every year. Bill Walsh.
I cannot remember.
Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh. And I mean, look at and I heard him list off all of the names of all the quarterbacks they drafted in Philly, Nick Foles and Carson Wentz, and I'm forgetting some, but Jalen Hurts, all these things, and they just keep drafting them, and it's like keep taking cracks at quarterback, but you should take cracks at quarterback till you find one. But build the best team. I mean, build the best team. Do what you've got to do. If the best player is a quarterback, and I understand that positional value changes your board a little bit. Yeah. That's why I don't have a big board. People have asked me about that. I have positional rankings. By the way, 7:30 Wednesday morning, updated positional rankings post Senior Bowl top 15 for everything across the board on the OBR.com. I don't do just like a top 50. I haven't done that. I do positional rankings, and that's how my board is, because I hate trying to be like, okay, but where do I put the quarterback? Because like he's the 15th best player, but does it make him the 10th best player because of the positional value and stuff like that? So I understand you bump them up for that. That's fine. That's fine, because if you don't have one, you're in that position, right? You're in the position where it's like, you look at Kyle Shanahan, what he's been able to do, but like, there's not a lot of that going on, right? So I get that aspect of it, but like, build a really good team so that when you get the quarterback right, you're ready. Because that's what the Browns thought they did. They built a really good team, and I still stand by. I think they were a good team this year. They just had no plan on offense and no quarterback, and for whatever reason, they weren't able to adjust at all. They just had put all their eggs in that weird basket, where I think the defense was good at times and things like that. So they thought they did that. And so that when they sent all those assets away and got the quarterback, I thought they were doing it. But
there was just some really, like, I know they weren't in the same amount of one-score games. I understand that because the offense regressed so badly. But it still doesn't take away from the importance of, like, Dustin Hopkins 2 years ago, and then the complete fall off that there was from him. There was a lot of regressions, like we thought we were ready to say Martin Emerson was going to be one of the star cornerbacks of the league, and just like him taking a step back, and then JOK with his injury, like those are 3 crucial pieces to like just completely unrelated to the quarterback that the Browns had 2 years ago. in making the playoffs and just really did not last year.
Well, the energy of the defense too, it was completely different from year to year. And partly that's because your offense is not giving you anything. So they'd put up fights in the first half of games, get to like the last possession before halftime, and finally break.
Yeah. And then once they broke, it was just was what it was. You know what I mean? It's like they'd break and it was like, okay, whatever. Here we go.
Well, yeah, the offense isn't digging you down from 14.
Yeah, because they couldn't. Right. Whereas the year before, even with PJ Walker, they were scrapping, fighting, clawing, kicking field goals. Because you couldn't just play great defense, kick a field goal, play great defense because you weren't making the freaking field goals either. Even when you were getting in range, you were missing a lot of them. And it was just like, yeah, that's a good point about the Hopkins thing. That is kind of an understated issue that they had in 2024. So I think we get to kind of sum up this quarterback conversation. We'll continue to have it. That's what's really, really awesome about the difference between now and 73. I thought I was at 71. I don't know why. That's the difference between the conversation we're having now and in 73 days is we'll know what the rest of the quarterback room looks like, or at least a general idea, because they may acquire multiples, and because I think they'll draft one somewhere, one way or another. I don't see them coming out with not having a rookie quarterback on this contract.
12 picks. You better have a quarterback.
Yeah, right. I don't care who, somebody.
Yeah, I don't care if it's Riley Leonard, who's
like crazy. I care a little bit if it's Riley Leonard, just because I think there's better options.
But I think if it was Riley Leonard, it would have to do with what they had done in free agency. No, I get it. Yes,
yeah.
But my point is, I don't care if it's Jackson Dart. Is that a better one?
Someone clip that shit up.
Swear to God.
Someone clip that up.
I swear to God.
Guys, do your thing. Clip it up.
So I don't care like what it is. You gotta take one. But 73 days from now, you'll have an idea if it's Sam Darnold, if it's Jameis, if it's Trey Lance, if it's whatever it
could be Derek Carr, could be Kirk Cousins.
Let me ask you something. It would make Brad Ward self-destruct. But are we so sure we can't just play dink and dunk moonball with Russell Wilson? I don't want to.
Oh, God.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
But I've heard worse options. Well, here's my like the biggest red flag I can think of right now is Russell Wilson hates throwing to the tight end position. He hates it. And I need a quarterback that's going to throw to David Njoku.
And I don't know why, because he's dink and dunk, he's check down moonball, and like the best. It's right here. Or
he's not throwing in front of him ever.
Right.
It's outside the numbers.
Yeah.
Screens and
quarterback. Like, I mean, go look at like a lot of like Bo Nix and stuff. It's like having a great tight end. Like if Tyler Warren were to go to Bo Nix, like the tight end from Penn State, if Bo Nix had Tyler Warren just chilling in front of him, and Bo Nix is the ultimate, I'll take my shot and I'll also take what the defense gives me a lot. And so like, I've never understood how Russell Wilson doesn't throw it to tight ends more. I don't. I remember when they went out and got Jimmy Graham from the Saints when Seattle did that, and we're all like, yeah. And it's like, no, Russell's not going to use it.
Right. So, like, at least give me Derek Carr because I know he'll throw to the tight end.
That's all.
Him and Waller were fun.
He's just like, but that's my point. Between now and then, right now we're sitting here saying, you've got the camps, you've got it has to be a quarterback at number 2, and it doesn't. And then there's some people in the middle. I'm kind of in the middle because I'm like, if your evaluation says to take one,
that's exactly where I'm at.
Yeah,
if you're bored, if your evaluation's telling you that you're the quarterback, then yes, you pull the trigger. You have to trust your evaluations, man. You can't just throw them out the window because you're drafting it too.
I need to know. Are you taking Jameis Winston back?
If you give me a running game and Jameis Winston, absolutely.
of all the options that I'm looking at, it's not counting the draft options. It's in the top 5.
I'm trying to think of a free agent quarterback that I would be more excited about. Maybe Kirk, maybe just because I think just 2 years ago he was still damn good, but I just
it's always the year after the Achilles tear, so you got to think, but like you gotta hope that the velocity issues were because of that.
yes, and that's a bigger and
you're
to
gonna
that
get a
point,
look at that.
yeah, that's a risk. Like Jameis is going to throw the shit out of that ball, and you need that.
You got to have a running game. Revamp this running game. Keep him under center, 50-50. Let him work off play action, but you got to keep him 32 attempts and under. When you start chucking it 50 times, he's going to give 2 or 3 away, man. It's just
I'm still
because then he's going to throw touchdowns.
Yeah, he can win you a couple of games throwing it for 50 times, but not a ton.
Jameis Winston starts 17 games. You're going to throw for 4,000 yards, 34 touchdowns, and probably 18 interceptions.
I was going to say 18. Yeah.
I am still team Quinshon Judkins. I feel like the Browns have lost that like physicality mentality, and I just think he would give them back that mean. He runs with that mean that like Jerome Ford just doesn't have that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? He's not like he'll break away. You give him a lane, he's gone. But I need somebody who's going to bang people around in the middle.
Well, here's the thing: Judkins is definitely on that list, but that list is long in this draft. He's not the only one that runs like that in this draft.
That's true.
I'm taking one of both. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you get the home run hitter earlier and the pounder later. You can do either one. It does not matter. Like I did one this week where I did Devin Neal from Kansas, the home run hitter, who I think is just a beautiful zone runner. Like that's the scheme. And then Taj Brooks from Texas Tech. And Taj Brooks.
Bumper.
Oh, buddy, he wants to hurt you. When Todd Brooks and same as Quinshon Judkins, he's the same way. Like if he lines you up, he's like, oh, there's a soul. He's like, oh, there's your soul. For me? It's for me. It's for me. I take. And then he just absolutely just destroys it. Like, but like I've got like, let me bring up my top 15 running backs because I want to tell you how many I think are quality running backs that you can have a good
Martinez is my guy too, Josh.
I got Damian Martinez is in my top 15.
He better be. Jesus Christ, dude's 20 years old.
And he's 12.
He's 226 pounds.
So, like, I'm getting to 15, looking at my top 15 at running back, and I see at least 3 names missing that I like, which would put you at 18. There's probably 15 to 18.
So Woody Marks is off the list?
Yeah, Woody Marks is not on there because of the age.
But I would definitely do, look, if he's in the 6th round and you need a secondary running back to be a pass catcher, give it Jaquavius Marks.
Well, that's the point, too, is that it's like, you're gonna have you're gonna want to wait for a guy like that because he's 25. Like, so you're like, I don't, but like, because you probably only getting like by the time he's done with his rookie contract, he's almost 30.
Yeah.
So it's like
that's here for a good time, not a long time.
Like
all right, let's do a quick little play. Let's play a little game with your running back rankings.
Oh.
Okay. Pull them up.
All right.
Okay. Where do you have Cam Scatterbo?
6.
Okay.
Wow.
So,
can you name the 5 ahead of him? Is that what your question is?
No, I mean, I probably. The question is, do you have Trayvon and Junkins ahead of him, or just one?
Just one.
Just one. Huh?
Wow.
There we go. So you got Junkins behind him.
Yeah.
So he's sandwiched. He's actually sandwiched in between the two.
That's what it felt like. That's the reason I was asking.
Okay. Yep.
Wow, Scannable over Judkins.
Okay, so do you have Caleb in front of Omarion Hampton? Because Genty's 1, so what are we doing?
No, Caleb's 3.
So you got Omarion Hampton too?
Yep.
Okay.
Interesting.
This is people need to understand what a great draft this is for running backs.
I'm looking at my number 5. My number Travion's number 5.
Okay.
And most years I would have him number 1. And it was the question of because everybody ahead of him number 4, and it's I can make a case to put him up. I can make a case. I can make a case to put him at 5. I can make a case for number 7, which is Quinshon Judkins. I can make a case for him at 4 or 3.
Yeah.
Like any one of those guys could come into the NFL and light it on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like Quinn. I know you just said where Quinshon is on your rankings. If he went to the Cowboys, my expectation for him would be I don't know, 1,200 yards as a rookie. Is that crazy? I don't know. I think he could very easily get that.
I mean, just he needs the touches is all he needs.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's like.
So
you got to get one of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So who's 4 then? Who's 4?
You didn't do it. You didn't put Harvey at 4.
No, Harvey's at 9. I would.
Yeah, I just know you like him a lot, so I was weighing that.
That's why he's at 9. He probably should. Yeah, 9's actually probably appropriate. But
do you remember when everyone was saying that Ollie Gordon could be the number 1 running back in the class?
If he'd have came out the year prior, he would have been.
That's crazy.
He is not in my top 15.
Okay.
That's brutal.
That's.
Yeah. He's probably 16. If I expanded it, he'd probably be 16.
He's a committee back in my mind. Yeah, but if he's Najee Harris to me.
Yeah.
Which there's a place for Najee Harris. I don't see him as a workhorse feature back. But
Okay, wait. So you went with Genty, Marion, Caleb.
Yep.
Okay, and then 4. So you're asking who 4 is because we know 5 is Travion.
Yeah, 5 through 7 is Travion, Scadaboo, Judkins.
Who would 4 be?
I think I'm probably higher on this guy than a lot of people are. Not that people aren't high on this guy. His last game was pretty forgettable, and I think how. What is it?
You got Sampson.
Yeah, Dylan Sampson. Yeah, Tennessee. Yep, it's number 4. His last game's pretty forgettable, and for a lot of NFL fans that don't watch a ton of college football, they really start turning in for the playoffs, and Dylan Sampson did nothing.
He was banged up. He shouldn't even played.
No, he shouldn't.
Because he hurt his stock. He truly did.
Most people, that's a lot of people's exposure to Dylan Sampson.
Yeah. But if the playoffs hadn't happened, we're not having these conversations about Judkins after the year he had either. Not that he was bad, but he didn't have top 5 type season.
Yeah, both him and Travion ended up with 1,000 yards because of the playoffs.
Exactly.
Yeah, good point.
Also, Scadabo lost. His stock went up because of what he did in his one playoff appearance.
It was the most gutsy performance I've seen.
It's up there
all year.
What did I say? I said he's John McClane at the Nakatomi Towers on Christmas Eve.
Oh man, Christmas movie, by the way.
He gave you everything he had.
Everything, dude.
I wasn't even watching the game. I was listening to it, and it was just Scadaboo, 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 Scadaboo the whole time. And I got to go back and watch the highlights from that. Because, man, it really seemed to cement him in this class. And these are the conversations we've been robbed of the last few years, which is why I'm looking so forward. And you know what? You know what we should do? We should do a mock draft next week. What do you say?
Yes.
Mock draft. Mock draft Tuesday.
Josh says that Scadaboo's Stone Cold's character from The Longest Yard, without the racism.
Yeah, that's
I've been
I get
watching.
what you're
on the
saying.
hard R.
So-
He was.
Yeah,
I bought Peacock for the Royal Rumble, and I've had it for like the last month. They have all the SmackDowns, like even the ones from the 80s. WrestleManias from the 80s. I started at the first one that they had, and I've been working my way year by year. I think
Where
I'm
are
at
you at
1982 right now. Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan.
Okay, all right, listen, that's a great WrestleMania, but the match you need to watch on that is Ricky Steamboat versus Macho Man. It is on that card. One of the greatest matches you will ever see.
I was just introduced to Ricky Steamboat. He's fun.
Oh, dude, Ricky.
Yeah, I love Ricky, and I love Macho Man, dude. Like that. It's just like some of my first memories as a kid are Macho Man's freaking Slim Jim commercials.
Yeah.
It's yeah, and then like I'm a huge Spider-Man dude, so like Bonesaw's ready.
I'm pretty new to wrestling, so I'm like learning things. And so I thought, what better way to learn the history than to go back and just it gets late at night, whatever. I just throw it on. Maybe I fall asleep. I don't know, but I just keep going back. So I will report back on my WrestleMania watching next week.
That is a 5-star match, my man. Steamboat versus Mach.
I don't know, man. But I'm here now. I'm here now, learning, and I want to know all about every bit of it. So, and you know what? I just want to say thank you to everybody because we're not live on YouTube. We're doing a little science experiment, and we weren't sure how the chat was going to be. And for a bunch of you to jump over to Twitch, for a bunch of you to comment from X, it means a lot to all of us. And thanks for bearing with us through last week. We're going to have mock drafts. We're going to have lots of fun, lots of conversations. I'm sure by next week we're going to be. I don't know. The Shedeur stuff just happened, and so that's going to ramp up the conversation around him. It's going to be all kinds of breadcrumbs to follow. So, with that being said, hopefully, and this episode is so aptly named, we are miles away from trading Garrett. The Browns can turn this narrative around, sign him to a juicy contract. That's fine. Just keep the best defensive player in franchise history, please. I get it. People have mixed opinions on that now. We'll talk about more of that too. Anyway,
right before you jump off, so
yeah,
the league year starts March 12th. March 15th, he is due a $5 million bonus. So in that period, the Browns need to woo him, need to wow and blow his socks off between March 12th and March 14th. Be active in free agency, make some good moves, and keep him in the fold. That's the
Foley's coming to Chillicothe on the 8th. I've heard Foley's like the coolest dude in person. Like, I love Mick Foley. Yeah, Josh, send us that information about that in the group chat.
It'll probably
cool people from Chillicothe, I heard.
It's not.
But anyway,
it's not.
I'm sorry, Casey.
I totally. You got 3 days, Browns, from March 12th to March 15th.
Okay, so just over a month, 31 days. 31 days, 4 episodes between now and we'll be talking about this probably on that episode. Can't wait. And looks like Ed, you can't. Okay,
hey. Shoemaker Center.
There it is.
For those.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. We'll have to make an appearance down there. So thank you to everybody for being here. We love you. I'm gonna post this episode to YouTube too if you did watch this, so you can catch it there too. This has been a Miles Away from Trading Garrett episode of the Barking Browns. Nick. It's Jacob. That's Casey. Go Browns.
Pudding. Pop.